Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, and I'm here to commentate for the Mind Games World Pair Go Championship. And today we have the final to choose the challengers for KJ and Yu from China. They're the champions. And today's game is Chen Yaoye and Naiwai from China against Park Jeong and Choi Jeong. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. From Korea. So we have a Korean pair and a Chinese pair fighting for the title, to win the tournament. And start with star points. It's quite common after, you might say after AIs, after the Go programs came, people started to play more star points than before. So this is quite normal. Black answered. A lot of approach moves, so this is making it exciting. And black plays a double kakari. So it's quite common nowadays to allow this double kakari. And white plays the attachment. And this is the most popular joseki for black. Of course, this is also a common joseki. But again, in this game, white plays the cut here and captures with a ladder. And so this kakari here, the approach move here, is actually working as a ladder breaking move. And black plays here. And again, white plays here. So this is quite similar to the game played by Park and Choi, I believe, yesterday, where the normal move might seem to be to play here. This is also a very large opening point. So for the time being, the ladder favors white. And black gets to choose where to play a ladder breaking move at this point. So in a game yesterday, black actually chose to attach here and cut, which is, when white extended, it was not completely clear how black would use the ladder, and it became a very complicated fight. Another way to use the ladder, the aji of the ladder, would be to play a pincer or a shoulder hit here, which would be a more straightforward attack, breaking the ladder. In this game, black started with kicking here. White will extend. And black jumped. So this has also become popular nowadays. And in this case, it's, even from the orthodox point of view, it's not so bad because the whole lower side is relatively small in value. And so black is trying to force white to play a stone there. Locally, this will be a very nice shape for white. But the direction of play, when black has this very solid group in the lower left corner, the direction of play for white in building in the lower side is not ideal. But instead of playing the extension, white takes. And again, if we look at the lower side locally, when black has kicked here and jumped, a pincer here, or here, is a very strong attack against the white stones here. And the kick is working well to give white a heavy shape that does not have two eyes. But again, the whole area, since black is low here and has a very solid corner, the whole area does not have too much value as far as black expanding territory. So instead of doing that, black pincered here, and white played a double kakari here. And this is the weak point of black's jump here, because when white plays a double kakari, white is always looking at the 3-3 invasion. And for instance, if something like this happens, white gets to take away the corner territory. So in that case, the stone here is working very well to give white a connected shape. Black attacks at this point. And so the idea is that if white jumps into the corner now, it will be a trade with white getting the right side and the corner, and black will be leaning on that to make hopefully a large territory. White slides into the corner, and we've seen this a little bit recently. The idea is that if black plays here, it's a bit dangerous because this is a kind of a double peep. and white can jump here, and white actually might push through first. And black has a lot of cutting points, and it's going to be difficult for black to fix this. So it's a very interesting move. It's slightly more aggressive than this slide, which would be more normal. And black would be able to answer it here to get a secure corner. So white goes all this way. And this is an opportunity for black to try to find something different. There is always the potential of this move. So black would like to find a way to be threatening that while playing elsewhere. That said, black does want to get out into the center, so something like this would be a fairly natural looking move. And white would probably fix the weakness here by peeping once, and now white has a connected shape. So that's the idea behind white's large slide, the large knight slide. And we have a slight pause in the game at this point. Black played this one. When black plays here, white still has some aji in the 3-3 point. So even if white pulls back first, white does have the potential to jump in here. And it's a bit annoying because if black plays here, white can connect underneath here. And if black connects, white can connect on this side. So there is some aji left in the corner when black does it this way. But once black has played this move, it's very natural to continue this way, yes. White still continues to have two weak groups on each side, one on each side. And so how white deals with these, maybe sacrificing, if white's going to sacrifice one side or the other, white would probably want to sacrifice the two stones on this side, which are relatively less important. Oh, white played detachment. This is another way to take advantage of the bad aji here. If black comes down, then white can extend and connect underneath. So instead, black played here, and white connects underneath. Locally, black could continue, probably not with the connection, because this would white would leave it at the moment, but would have the option of making an eye in the corner. So this would be an extra eye in the corner, very efficient for white. If black has an advantage in ko-threats, at some point black might play this move, which would be more aggressive. But of course, for the time being, white would just take the ko, and black would have to find a ko-threat. So it seems reasonable that black might be leaving it for the time being in the corner, and maybe playing something on the outside, like something like this, to start to surround white on the left side. And after all, the side here on the right is still open, so black could be thinking of playing a pincer from the side, in which case white does not really have a full eye here. For instance, if we look at it this way, and we say that black can win the ko here, then white still does not have an eye on this side, so white only has two potential eyes. But in the game, it didn't turn out that way. Black started the ko in the corner immediately. White will take. So black needs to find a ko threat for the time being, but played just a fairly normal looking move. The idea with this is that if white connects, then black is, the meaning of black's play is that black is going to be satisfied with something like this if black adds a move. And white is still not completely alive, while black has a fairly good shape in the corner. But what black has to be careful of is the fact that if white gets an extra ko threat, then at some point white might start this ko, which would be very dangerous for black to lose. So after white takes and black plays here, white also does not have the ko threat, a good ko threat for when white plays this ko. So white answered black's ko threat, and black takes. And now it's white's turn to find a ko threat. So this ko in itself is not a vital ko for either side. It's a ko that they would like to be able to win and continue with. Like, it's relatively simple for black to finish the ko this way. But from white's point of view, white's main idea is to have a ko threat for when white plays this ko. So it will take some time for that to actually happen. And that makes it a relatively light ko, a ko that white doesn't really have hope of succeeding to the extent of cutting here immediately. But it's just hoping to get probably just two extra moves, an extra move in the area, while black wins the ko. So instead of continuing the ko, which would probably have white playing something on the side or something on the lower side there, this could start a new fight on the lower side. But instead, black just left it. So this is going to be an unfinished ko that's going to be hanging around for a while, I think. Black dives into the left side, and white pincers. And so this is a position where black was threatening to connect underneath, but there is a ko involved with that, because so another ko that could be happening on the left side. Again, this is a dangerous ko for both sides. But the reason that white invited that was because if white plays here, black will be able to play something to connect black stones on the side, which would make it's not a settled shape, but it's a shape that looks like it can be fairly resilient. And of course, white's group does not really have two eyes either. So this was black's idea, and white refuted it with this pincer. And if black just connects underneath, again, there's the problem with the ko, but white could even just play on the top to get a nice thick shape and have a good attack against this stone here. So black moves out. And the idea is to have a running fight with this white group, which has captured a stone in what looks like a ponuki, but it's not really a live shape yet. So black does have, but that's not what black did. Black cuts here. So black is, when black plays an attachment and a cut like this, the idea is to throw something away. So for instance, if white plays, let's have white play this one, just to keep it simple. Then black will be making a good shape on that side and has not completely thrown this stone away yet because black still does have the hana here. So this looks like what black's idea is. So this is the game position at this point. I think this game is moving just a little bit slower than the games yesterday were. It's a very important game to decide the winner of the tournament. And the winner will be going on to play KJ and I think she's Yu Zhiying, I believe. One of the strongest female players in the world. So they're going to, the winner of this match is going to play the champion team. And so black could curl around, but it's more normal just to capture the one stone here in a net. And this could be a bit further away. That works also. Otherwise, black does have some aji in the corner later on. For instance, later on, black could play an attachment here. And this would cause some trouble in the corner. So there's some aji there, which black will have opportunities. This kind of move, or something like this also would cause a lot of trouble in that corner. So white has to be careful of that weakness. This could be, white could handle that by playing an extension on the side, which would give white some extra space. And it wouldn't matter so much what happens in the corner. It would be difficult for black also. White plays a hana here. In this position, there is some aji of a cut on the third line here. For instance, now that white has the hana there, the semei, the fight to capture, is a bit dangerous for black. For instance, this kind of thing. Locally, if we count the liberties, black has 1, 2, 3, 4, and white has 1, 2, 3, 4. One might think that if black plays first, it's going to be okay. But the fact that black has to play at this point at some time, it means that black actually has less liberties than we thought, and white's going to win the semi. Otherwise, if black breaks through, you can see that there's going to be some trouble on this side too. So although it's maybe not going to work immediately with this kind of variation, in which black is probably going to win by one move difference on either side, there is a lot of aji here. There's potential here for white. So looks like we're going to see that variation or something like it in the actual game, because black played away, playing the kick here. So that's starting to attack white in this area, but white immediately cut here. So also, for instance, like if this hane was not on the board, there would be a number of ways for black to be able to handle that. Like black could play one atari, and then this would be good enough to win the semi. But with a white stone there on the second line here, of course that's very different. Black does not have the time to play this forcing move, because black would lose the 3 stones if black did that. So black immediately plays the tari here. White can extend, or white can wedge here, which would be forcing. And white would be able to reduce black's territory on the side a little bit. So white actually has 2 choices at this point. So this area in the lower right is still, there's still a lot of, they're still in the middle of a ko. But as I said at first, actually, it takes a lot of time for white to have real success in this ko, because white would like to capture the ko and be able to cut here. So white needs 2 ko threats at least, or an advantage of 2 ko threats in order to win this ko as it is, and then cut again to win the ko after that. In which case, like if white gets to play here, the whole area is just a disaster area for black. Whereas if black is forced to connect here, black has an eyeless shape. So this is also bad for black. So if white can have enough ko threats to take here and to continue with this, or if black is afraid of that, black would have to play at this point without white even connecting the ko. And white would just leave it then, gaining a move, compared to if white had had to connect first. So white has some options of putting pressure on black if white has enough ko threats locally. But for the time being, it's not working. Of course, if black adds a move, it's going to be here. Black adds a stone, very good aji, and then black would have a lot of potential to attack white. So white just can't manage to do it at this time of the game. It's not going to work yet. So that's an explanation for why the players are leaving this area, which is going to be an important ko later in the game maybe. So white wedged and came straight down. And we can see if black just leaves this and allows this kind of shape, then this will later kill the corner. This would be just a dead shape with this point and this point interchangeable. So black would die then. And so if black just leaves this, then any move in the area here is going to be a forcing move for white. So instead of doing that, black cuts and captures the 1 stone. And so now this black group in the corner is completely alive. But white has gotten compensation by breaking out here. So that was what the hane here was all about, and the cut on the 3rd line here was what white was trying to set up there. And of course, black can break through here, but this white group is already alive. So like if we look at it as a position like this, for instance, we can see that white already has a nice little territory there and is completely alive. So, and of course this white group, for instance, if white plays here, this white group is alive also. So breaking through here, although it sort of opens a hole in white's wall, it's not such an important point. So black jumped out, and white jumped out. And now black finished the ko. So this is a very good aji move. It takes away a lot of white's potential. And it will, and the point is that if these black group stones get hemmed in, then the threat here would be, like when black loses, it would be a large territory for white. So there is a large threat here. And when black plays this move, it's about 12 points, almost 12 points of territory. So black does have a nice little territory there and is safe, which means that later on black will be able to play more adventurous moves, like maybe here, maybe peeping, and then here, as one way to try to split white and attack. Or depending on the game position, black might be able to play here and allow white to connect pointless moves. So just connecting, it's not going to increase white's territory. So black has a number of, once black has taken this stone, black has a number of ways to handle these white stones, which are not settled yet. From white's point of view, white pushed here once. This is forced. White would like to find a good way to attack these two black stones because they're not alive yet. So, for instance, something like this looks like it's a good idea. Black would probably make use of the forcing move here, which is threatening to cut white. And any way black does it, this is actually with so much thickness, such a strong shape on the right, black can find a number of ways to cut white here. So, oh yes, so slightly different. White played the knight's move here, which also is closing off black's escape to the center, and black played here. White countered with this move, which is slightly changing what happens with when black plays an attachment like that. So let's, black might push here. Let's just start by having black play this move, for instance. So when this happens, there is a weakness here. For instance, how shall I do it? Let's say white plays here, and then here, and is threatening to push out here. We can see that this stone, even if white just pushes through here, this stone is working well to cut black, actually. So it's a weakness there in black's position, which is making it less profitable for black to cut off these two white stones. So black pushed once, and then came from this side. So this is very similar, only that when white plays here and black plays here, now black's shape is completely connected. So it's a connected shape when black does that. And if white tries to break out here, white can actually break out, but has a very weak shape on the left. So at some point, white has to fix that. And if white uses a move to fix this side, then there's two weaknesses on the right, which will be difficult for white to fix. So, so white just left that. Let's see, where did white play? White played the extension, and black moved out. So this has the double meaning of getting rid of some of the aji that was around here by just strengthening this one stone. So if white does this now, black has a friendly stone here to connect up to, which will make it fairly pointless for white. Like even if white pushes through here, there are two cutting points, and again there's this weakness on the left. So this is just adding one stone to the local area, strengthening the cutting stone here when white does this. And white is not doing this because white actually has some other options locally. For instance, when it's the endgame, maybe white's going to play something like this to reduce black's territory from underneath. So this would not be a big move at this point in the game, but later in the game we might see white trying something like that. So after black extends here, white extends here. So white's going to move out with these stones. White has a base here. This is not completely safe, but it looks like a territory for the time being. So temporarily we can call this a living group. So the one white group that would be called weak is this one, because this white group in the center, it has friendly stones to the left. This white group is alive. So it's not really in danger of being encircled by black at this point in the game. So white is just playing very strongly here to move out with these stones. And it doesn't matter to white that there's this one weak group, because one weak group is something you can usually deal with. Black played a bit of a loose move here. There's weaknesses in the 3-3 point and in the attachments on both sides here. But in the process, moves like this would be putting a lot of pressure on white's right side group. So there's potential for a lot of tactical complications here. But it looks a bit dangerous for white also. So locally, if we're just looking at the corner position here, this is an adventurous move. But black has ideas to attack white with moves like this next. So it looks like it should be working in this case. Black is starting the attack by splitting this group with this group. And the next step, if white gives black time to do it, the next step would be to break through the center and cut this group off from this group. And then if black gets that far, white would have two weak groups. So white pushes. Black has to choose now whether to extend, which would be slightly bad shape. But when you're attacking, sometimes you play a heavy move like this. Sometimes it's the strongest attacking move. Otherwise, black could be looking at more light moves, which are more flexible but also have some weaknesses in connections. So let's see. The game is developed. The territories in this game are fairly well defined. Like I would say that black has less than 10 points here and a very small territory here. And usually this becomes black territory, but it's not, as I said, there are moves like this that can reduce it. So we're not 100% sure that this is going to be a black territory. If white played here, it would just be about 10 points for black. Whereas if it becomes a black territory with something like this, it's more than 20 points. So let's just get an estimate of about 15 points for black in this area, and slightly less than 10 points here. So added this, it's more than 10 points actually. And then black has some territories here which are still a bit thin, but could probably develop into territories. So black has something like 25 points plus these areas. White has more than 10 points here. It's almost 15 points, but not quite. And less than 10 points here. So that's more like 8 or 9 points. But if white does play something like this, it will be more than 10 points. So again, these are areas that can change in value. And white has a few points here, apparently. So white does have some territory. Let's see, that's about 30 points. So I was saying black has 25 points, about 25 points plus these two. White has about 30 points plus this area, which is not 100% territory yet. So white might seem to have a slight advantage in territory. But of course, white has to deal with these white stones and these stones that are not 100% safe yet, and these stones in the center are problems that white has to deal with. Black cuts here. And black is still putting some pressure on this group. It's not 100% safe. And white is still looking at this attachment here. Now that black is cut off here, white is cut in this point. Well, actually, black cut later. But white does have this attachment here, which could cause some trouble for black. for instance, if we have black, oh, it's white's turn, yes. So white playing here, black playing here. And black has to, black could not just go after the one stone because these two stones would be in danger. So black would be playing something like this, after which white would have attacks like this in the corner. But the problem is that these stones are not 100% safe. White could also think of playing moves like this. Which could continue into a very tactically complicated variation. So there's this attachment here, which is going to be a problem for black that black has to resolve. So in the game, black did not play that way, but instead wedged here with an Atari and pushed through. So by playing aggressively here, breaking through, black is getting rid of the weakness here, because now, oh, white played here anyway, but because now black can cut and just connect here. And this is not going to be a direct threat against black. For instance, if white plays this way, black can play a double hane. And it, even if white might manage to make a life, it's not going to be a very successful variation for white. Because black can, for instance, black can play like, let's just finish the shape here. And we can see that living here is reducing the eye space of these stones. And black can at any point, oh, sorry. Black has to play here first. Now it's white's turn. And black can always take these cutting stones first. So it's very easy for black if white does it that way. But that's not the plan, obviously. White was probably aiming at an invasion at the 3-3 point. But quite surprisingly, black just 少し戻ってください。Okay, let's back up a little bit. I got a bit mixed up here. So black played this move, white pushed, black covered. And when white played the hane, black cut. So actually it was white's move at this point. So white played the attachment. And again, the idea with this move is to cut here and have some maji in the corner, some potential in the corner, as well as the hane here, which is a very good move for white. So the moment white played this move, black wedged here. So a bit different from what I was showing you just now. And white cut off the corner. So white is very strong in the corner now. Black still has room to live. And black switches to the center. So we're coming to a decisive fight here, I think. White moves out, black extends. In this fight, white's right side here is not completely alive. It's in danger. So white plays the hane here. And this is threatening the cut here and putting black in some damezumari. Black can handle this, for instance, by taking these 3 stones. But then white would be able to connect all white's stones and still have an attack on the corner. So that's probably white's plan. So I think I'm caught up with the game now. So this hane is working to expand white's eye space and threatening the cut here for the time being, or a connection underneath. In the corner here, black has a number of ways to live, but even something like this would suffice to make a living shape. But at this point, the fight on the right side here is probably more important. Black's strongest move would be to cover here, of course. And if white cuts and connects, then black would cut here. And white's group here would be in trouble, so it looks playable for black. But instead, black played an Atari here. So that's interesting. When black plays the net here, black can capture the 3 white stones. But white has 2 liberties open, which means that white will probably play this way just to connect underneath. White could play this way, but this doesn't look so good to me. When black gets to squeeze. And then can take this stone. So this looks like it's, oh, actually black could play from above and capture the 2 stones. So this looks like it's still a bit dangerous for white here with a peep here. It's still a bit dangerous, and it's dangerous for white in the center too. So this looks playable for black. So white might not do that. But if black captures in the net, white would probably just connect on the side and connect the 2 weak groups and give up these 3 stones maybe. So instead black plays an Atari. White escapes, of course, because now it's not a dead group. So again, black has to deal with the cut here at this point. So it looks like it's beginning to become a dangerous fight for black, because if white adds a stone after black does something to get rid of the cut, if white adds a stone, this group will be alive. These 4 stones, it will be difficult for black to capture them. And momentarily, white has an advantage in the upper right corner also. So it looks like white will be able to handle all of the various complications that are happening. And if white can live with everything, it's going to be a success for white, because white has broken into the 1 corner territory that black had. And there's a kind of a pause in the game here. I would assume that the players are taking some of their extra time. These games are played with 30 seconds per move, but the players have 10 minutes of extra time. So that's divided into 10 1-minute subsections that they can use 1 minute at a time. So black covers here. So I get the feeling that black has used 1 or 2 of those 1-minute sessions of overtime. If white cuts here and connects, black will cut here and capture the 1 stone. And this is already a dead shape. So white would probably peep here though and have the potential cut here. So it doesn't look like, and of course white has the threat to play here. And at any point white can capture these 2 stones. So if white can manage to live with this peep, maybe it's not bad for white after all. Otherwise, white could just calmly, well, usually they play very aggressively, but white could just play calmly here, and this looks like it's a living shape. Still depending a little bit on black's outside weakness. For instance, if black plays here, just ignoring the weakness on that side, locally, no, this side. Locally, it's not 100% alive. So it is possible for black, provided black's strong on. Of course, there's the problem that black has a weakness here when white forces against this and can break through. So it depends on black having a strong position above. And of course, there's the cut here also. But instead, white cut first, and black connected. White cut above. Black took 1 stone, and white covered from above. So white's getting a connected shape on the outside. Black played 1 hane. And now that black has some extra liberties for this group, black comes all the way here. So this is a very strong attack against white's group. If white connects, black can just cover here and capture these 4 stones. So white will probably not do that. If this is completely dead, then black also has some gain here. But there is some maji of this peep. After which black will either push through or cut here. Black needs to stop white from playing this move. So pushing through is probably the best move. With the idea of if white comes through here, black can play the cut as an Atari. So it's sort of sente. And if white pushes through and cuts here, then black can continue with this move or this move. Of course, there's this status of this side is going to change. When white plays here, now this stone is about to be killed. So there's a difference on that side, which is going to change the fight on that side. But the group here on the right side it looks like it's pretty dead. So white covers here. And black added a stone. So this finishes off this whole white group. White peeped once. And so I'd like to take a look at how this trade turned out. The whole corner here is now white's territory. So let's take a look at the territory. Again, white has almost 15 points here and less than 10 here. So that's less than 25. White has more than 15 points here. So that's more than 40 in all. And then white has this territory, which is not, which is a territory that white's probably going to add a stone to fairly soon to make this something like 15 points. So white has something like 55 points. Black needs more than 60 to be able to win. Black has, this is starting to look a bit more dead than before because black also has the forcing move here, which sets up a peep here. So I would say that this area is fairly solidly black's territory now, making this almost 25 points. And this is slightly less than 10 points. And so we'll add that and say it's 35 points. Oh, and then I have to count this. This is pretty big, actually. So this is about 32, more than 30 points. So black has almost 70 points. So white has, let's see, I was 20. So black does have a lot of territory here. Maybe black gained in territory sufficient amount. I had the feeling that white was successful in this fight. But I guess maybe this side group was pretty big, so it looks playable for black. So in the game, white played this move, and black slided. The idea of this move is that this would be forcing for black. It would be increasing black's eye space and also be a very forcing move against the white territory here. So it's a double sente move, which is weakening these stones. And as black makes a life here, white intends to settle the problems in this corner. So that's 20 points. That's going to be about 10 points, 30 points. So white has about 55 points for the time being, with some thickness in the center. And black has close to 60 already here. So black's territory over here is almost enough to give komi to white. Like if we added this, it would be enough to get komi. And then black will be getting a little bit more territory. So it's this territory, which is almost 10 points, and a few points here, maybe something in the vicinity of 10 points against white's potential in the center here. So it looks like it could be actually a very close game. So black cuts once. Black is just trying to get some extra eye space with the forcing move here. It's a tough decision for white to choose whether to extend here, which would be better as far as the corner territory is concerned, but would be a loss on the outside, when black can still make use of this cutting stone. White did that. Black can still make use of this cutting stone with forcing moves from outside, like at least this one, but even if black plays here, there's a potential squeeze there. So the other option for white was to play here, but again, black would add a stone somewhere and have this move to be looking forward to. So the game looks like it's coming into the end game. I'd like to take this point. Oh, okay. We have white playing here. So this is, again, it's one of the weak points in black's position. It's going to be an end game, I think. I'd like to take this, this chance to take a look at the other game that's being played today, which is the fight for third place between the two Japanese teams. So I'm taking a break from the final game now, and I'll be hoping to get back to it later, after showing you the fight for third place. So the match for third place is between Ichiriki Ryo and Fujisawa Rina as one pair, and their opponents are Iyama Yuta and Kato Keiko. So they're playing, black is playing 3-4 points. I think the Iyama pair has been playing 3-4 points in this tournament. And black plays a big high shimari, one of the master shimaris, made popular by AlphaGo in the version that was called Master. And the knight move, and white plays a high extension. Black jumps into the 3-3 point. Very common nowadays. So black's strategy when doing this seems to be to take a lead in territory. And white plays this shimari. This is very commonly used in response to the high shimari here, the high corner enclosure here. White plays this and is aiming next to play a move here, which is a key point, a vital point when attacking this corner enclosure. So black plays here. Locally, this is the simple and probably the best follow-up for black, which gives black a good shape in the corner, and it takes away the base of the white group. So white's outside group is not very strong after black plays this. And so white plays an extension. And black plays here, attacking the white group here. And white, this is supporting the group from this side, also reducing black's potential on the lower side, and increasing white's potential towards the center of the board. So black plays a shoulder hit. Until recent days, it has been considered normal to crawl or push against this. But yes, it's quite common to be playing this move and then pushing. Starting an attack on black's corner enclosure on the right side. So white jumps. Black peeps. This is preparing to add a move to the corner enclosure. So black adds a move here. And white comes out here. And so it's going to be a running fight between these two groups. In the meantime, white is trying to make some territory on the left side of the board. So black is more or less connected in the center. With this move, white is approaching a base on the side, so about to make a base on the side. Also has some room to escape. So white switches to the lower left corner. And this one, okay, black pulls back. And so white jumps here. So now white has what looks like a living shape on the upper side. Black can reduce the corner with this move. So black just finished making life in the corner. That's a living shape. And white gets to push through here. So in this fight, black has a weak group in the center here, but is also looking to try to get some counterattack against the white group here, which is not completely alive. So that's what black was doing with this move, which is a bit adventurous because white can cut it off, but also there's some danger for white also. And so when this fight ensues, there is the potential for black to be sacrificing these stones in the center if black can get a good countermeasure against white in the lower left. So that's the idea behind black's play here. Okay, very sharp move here. Black cuts. Oh no, black connected. White pulls back. So white is cut black in two, but black does have a connection underneath. And white continues with this move. So there is some weakness there with black's connection. So black has added a stone here to enable black to connect with the connect underneath next. So this exchange was all to make a connection underneath possible. But they've gathered momentum here, adding one stone. It doesn't seem to really be working for black, but then black can connect. Because of this stone, black has gotten rid of the threat to cut black, which was this one and pushing in here. There was a weakness there in black's connection, which black fixed by creating this forcing move in the fight here. So now black is completely connected, and white added a stone here in the center. So these stones, for the time being, they're pretty useless. So black's going to be willing to sacrifice these stones. These three stones are dead. In the meanwhile, these stones are not completely alive. So it's going to be a fight between these stones and the black stones on the outside. After playing this forcing, black hane once. White will answer that. Oh, white answered here. So black connects underneath. And white has a forcing move here, which means that white is close to getting an eye in that area. And it is making another eye here. So it looks like white should be able to survive with this fight. White plays this move. And the idea is that if white plays here immediately, black will play here, forcing white to answer, and limiting white's eye space. So this would be, although it would not die, unless black could find, this looks like it doesn't work though. So it looks like it can live, but it's slightly more eye space for white if white plays this exchange first. Forcing black to connect, and then playing here, in which case it's a bigger eye. And after black plays here, white can probably just play something like this. Would be simple, yeah, that's how it turned out. So white's alive here, still has a little cutting stone here that could make some trouble. And black reinforces, also linking up to these stones, so black doesn't actually have to sacrifice them after all. And white adds a stone to the right side. So the game is settling down a little bit. White got some profit in this general area, while black made an attack, didn't get so much profit. And while when we catch up to the moves, I'll try to make a assessment of how it turned out. So white attacks here. And this group is not 100% alive. So black is trying to get some counteraction in this area. We can see that black is playing just a little bit adventurously because this is giving up a lot of points in the corner. And it looks difficult for black to kill one of these two groups. So in that case, white's profit here will be pretty big. So black covers on this side. And I believe we're caught up. So let's just take a quick look at the territory. White has almost 5 points here. And more than 30 points in this general area, plus some extra possibilities. So, and then these two territories, white's going to be building territories in these two places maybe, but they're both very small. So, in all, white probably has approaching 40 points. So black has almost 15 points here, some potential. This could be, if white plays here, all of these eyes would disappear and black would have to connect everything. But if black plays another move in the area, for instance, this one, then it's going to start to be black's territory here. And so this could change from slightly more than 10 points to about 15 points. Black has a few points here. This is a living shape. If white plays here, black can live with this move. So it is a living shape. It's a very small two-eye shape, actually. So it's not very much territory. So let's say this is not very much either. So we'll say that this and this and this add up to something like 20 points. And then black has around 20 points in this area also. So black has in the vicinity of 40 points. And white also has the vicinity. It could be a very close game now. So white played here, and black played here. And we can see white's starting to make some eye space here. But black will also have an attack against these stones too. So it's undecided. I'd say it's still undecided. White needs one more move locally to make a living shape. White will have to play it at this point, at some point. If white plays here, it's a very safe, a living shape. But of course, black is looking at moves like this to attack white on this side. So white might try to deal with both problems at once with some kind of maneuver. So that was just very briefly showing you the game between Iyama Yuta and Kato Tomoko against Ichiriki Ryo and Fujisawa Rina. And they are fighting for the 3rd place in this tournament. But I'm sure it's probably more important to show you the final game of the tournament, the championship match, which is being held between China and Korea. So at this point, I'd like to go back to that game. Okay, so we'll change the names again. So black stones are Naiwai and Chen Yaoye, and the white stones are held by Park and Choi from Korea. So the game started with star points. And a lot of approach moves. And not very many answers to them. Well, black answered at least. and then this double kokari. And one of the most modernly popular variations of this joseki is this variation where white cuts here, and if black plays an atari, white will just go for the corner, and the corner is probably bigger in this case, or white could play a ko. So black connects here, and white takes the ladder. And then white plays, instead of finishing off the ladder, white plays here. And in this game, black switched to the lower right, threatening to attack white here, but white then finished the ladder. Black pincered here. And white played this kokari, and black attacked. So it's a pretty involved sequence here. White plays the slide. And has this move to attack black in the corner. Black backs up a little bit, and then plays the atari to start a ko. But as I was saying, this is not a very important ko yet, but it becomes very decisive once white gets to cut here, in which case black will take the ko and white needs a pretty big ko threat once white has used a move here to start this big ko. But if white can have a good ko threat for this ko, this cut would be very a strong attack on black. So white does need some extra moves to make it actually work. And at this point in the game, white doesn't have a ko threat for the ko that starts with this move. And white would not be satisfied by connecting here and allowing black to play here. So this ko it's hard for either side to sort of decide this ko yet. Because although black plays a ko threat and then takes here, it's not really so good for black to finish the ko immediately, because that would be a lot of stones used in one area of the board. So white moves out, and black took this opportunity to switch back to the left side. And white pincered. The idea being that if black tries to connect underneath, I think in this case, instead of playing here, which would be a big ko again, white probably just plans to cover from outside to make a thick shape. So black actually starts a little sabaki here, sacrificing this stone. To make good shape on the outside. So black has strengthened this group. There's at least one eye here. And also the two knights shapes here leave some weakness for white in the corner. And of course black still has the hana here, which is a potential connection. So white avoided that with this, which is looking at the cut in the corner. Black leaves it, and then white cuts. And black does not have the leisure to play moves like this, because black would lose the semi-eye. So that's why black played the atari first, and white had the opportunity to break through here. Leading to this trade, where white has created a position on the lower side and is ready to start attacking this black stone. So black moves out, and when white moves out, black also has to remember there's a potential ko looming here. So black finishes off the ko. And white gets to close black in a little bit, but black has this move, which does threaten these two stones. So after this exchange, for the time being, black has no problems. So white's going to leave it for now, pushing once. Oh, sorry, this push came a bit earlier. And then white played the knight's move. And then black played here. And here. So it looks actually like this game has finished. White won the game. Let's see, maybe it would be good to try to catch up a little bit more. Just take you to where we were earlier. White extended here. And let's see, black played out here, and white extended here. And so the fight continued on the upper side. Just take you a little bit further. I think this as far as shape is concerned, I think it was here that white seemed to gain something when white broke into the corner. Although when I counted the territory, it was actually fairly close and not decisive. I have the feeling that when white broke into the corner here, it seemed that white was gaining too much. So maybe this is where the game became difficult for black. And in this sequence, white did manage to connect up in the center. While black managed to kill this white group. White covered here, black captured these stones, and white switched to this point. And black started to make, to reinforce this group. So at this point, oh yes, white did play the peep here once. And black answered. Then white played this. And so at this point in the game, I believe that black had a slight lead in territory, whereas white had some thickness here in the center that could develop into some territory. Why don't we just go through the moves as far as we can? So this is how far I took you in the last commentary. Let's see what happened now. White, it would be a reasonable move for white to curl here or to jump out. Oh, but instead white played the attachment here, yes. Black covers, white pulls back. So white is just reducing the black territory here and jumps out here. So splitting these stones up from these stones, you might notice that these black stones, for the time being, they have only one eye. So black jumps here, and white jumps here. So these stones are also undecided. White does have to gain something in the fight here in order to have enough territory to win. So white's trying to build a territory in this general area. Black plays a kosumi. White extends, threatening to cut. So black pushes through here once and stops the cut with this move. So white connects. Oh, black did not play that one. Black pushed here. This is forcing. So black is starting a fight in the center of the board, trying to find some white stones. Oh, white just extended. Trying to find some white stones to attack, namely these three, I suppose. But white gets to push through here. So now the whole upper side has become white's territory. And black will be getting some territory in the center. So that was a big trade. But this is just, this area was already black's territory. So it's less than 20-point difference. And white pushes through here again. And is looking at the weakness of black's group here to try to reduce black's center territory as much as possible. Oh, black did not cut there, but cut here. It looks like a very sharp, dangerous move, actually. Black extended, and white can jump here. Now this stone is connected to this side because white can just extend if black pushes through here and connect up somewhere around here. While if black pushes through this side, white can just push through, and although white will lose the 3 stones, this black group will be cut off and killed. So at this point, black cut on this side. So white pushes through and connects. So there's a question of the eyes of the whole black group. So black has to worry about that now. So this is where black resigned. It looks like black could make a second eye for this group. There's an eye here. So if black plays, for instance, something like this, or maybe it's alive already, let's see. If black even plays the Tari, it's alive already. So it's not as if this group is going to die, but the territory here that black gets in the center, black would probably want to add a stone here. It's probably not enough. It's, white has got this territory and has captured the whole side here. Maybe I should make a quick estimate of the territory. So this is more than 65 points, something like 68. So white has more than 90 points, significantly more than 90 points, I'd say. And so black's only big territory is this one. It's a lot of territory to count. So this looks like it's somewhere around 80 points. And black only has this after it. So it will be difficult, at least for black, to give komi. So that was the end of this game. I guess that decides the winner is Park and Choi. And later today they will be playing the champions from last year, which is the team KJ and his partner Yu. And so I'll be back with that. もう一曲の方やってもいいですよ。Oh, let's see. There is one other game. Let's see if we can get it up on the screen. The two Japanese pairs are fighting it out for third place in this tournament, and it looks like they're still in the middle of their game. So let's take another look at that game. So this is the two Japanese pairs, Iyama Yuta with Kato Keiko as his partner, and Ichiriki Ryo with Fujisawa Rina as his partner. Excuse me, white played here. Black played a shoulder hit. And white invaded here. And black took this opportunity to finish the corner territory. So now the corner has become black's territory. And white is more or less alive on the upper side. And black starts to invade the corner. With this hane here and some potential connection to the outside, for instance, with moves like this, black would be able to connect to the outside group. And so it looks like it seems reasonable for white to be playing something to stop that with this peep. And black now has to live in the corner. So this was a trade where black took away the whole corner territory, but white got to push through here. And the result was that these stones here became slightly lighter, the black stones, because half of the group is being captured already. And so black was able to treat these stones as not so important, not as light stones, and attack actively on the left side here with this move. White did counterattack, and so we got into this fight where black is aiming at attacking these white stones. White is splitting the two black groups to attack these, but this is going to be the more important fight. So white will have to deal with this group at some point. So white plays a very sharp move here, cutting black off. And black is also fighting very strongly, allowing white to do that. And black needs a stone here to complete the connection, so black starts with this. And gets this stone in. Maybe it was better not to play this exchange. But black does connect, and white adds a stone to the center. So then black starts to attack, but white does have room to make eyes. So white plays here, this side. So now white is alive on the side here. As black is more or less connected up in the center. And white starts to make a base here for this group. And invades this side. So that was part of the reason for this move also. Black is playing very aggressively here, hoping for an attack against white on the right side. So white is going to have no trouble living here. I believe we got around to this point earlier, and black answered this with this move. So white could have connected, after which black would have added a stone, but instead white counterattacked her. Black plays another bamboo, and white gets to break out. So instead of making two eyes here, which would be easy with this move, white is broken out, and black's group in the corner is not 100% alive. So black is adding a stone at this point. With this move, black is trying to keep the pressure on this white group, and at any point black can make two eyes by sliding here. And for the time being, black is threatening to connect up in the center. So white cuts black off with the idea that white would like to be able to connect in the center too, but black's not allowing that. White pushes through and cuts. And now black can live on the side. White extends. We have to remember that this black group here, it doesn't have eye space in the center. So black has to capture this stone. If white gets to save this stone, then the whole black group will be in danger. So white is threatening a counterattack here. And it looks like white is hoping to counterattack against these black stones too. So it's becoming a very, of course white's not alive yet, so that's part of the problem for white. And this white group is looking a bit thin too. So there's a number of weak groups in this position. Now this is threatening to kill black on the upper side with this move. But black, before living, black's peeping here once. So taking away some of white's eye space and now black is alive on the upper side. What is white trying to do with this move? White is looking at escaping here at some point. I would assume that's what the meaning of this move is. But black just ignores it, counterattacking here. There is a bit of a cutting point here that white has to worry about. And this group on the side, it doesn't really have eye space at this point. White needs to add some stones to it. White pushes through. Black extends. So black is actually sacrificing something in the center and staking everything on the fight on the right side here. White adds another stone to the center. So white has captured these black stones in the center of the board. And black must kill this white group, otherwise it'll just be too much territory for white. So white starts a ko. And pokes out here. Takes the ko. If white can cut once more, this will be a ko to live. So black answers this one. And now white is trying to make some living space on the side. Here. It looks like it's still going to be a ko. Black plays a hane. Maybe it's a double ko. So that was the meaning of this move here, which was a way that if white covers here, let's say white plays this one first. And then covers here. White doesn't have room to live. And if it was like this, then there would be potential for white to capture this stone and have it being a ko here. But when black has this hanging connection here, black can just take the other stone every time. It's a double ko. Black can just take the other ko every time white takes the ko. And this is going to be a full psi always. So that was the meaning of this hanging connection. Looks like white has been killed on the side here. So white switches to this side. This is forcing. Black has to answer it. And covers. So all of this is forcing. It's going to be a very small life for black on the side here. Locally, black would have to play something like this, and it would just be 2 points. But since black has a friendly stone here, in the game, black played this clamp first. And when white plays there, black can connect up on the side. Okay, white filled another, and then here. And so we're entering an end game. As soon as we catch up, I'll try to make a count of territory. It's a lot of territory again for both sides. Okay, we're caught up. It looks like white has one eye here. White needs to keep the eye here. So if white plays something like this, black will be able to push through and take away that eye. So white has to connect here, and black will be able to connect underneath here. So let's look at white's territory first. White has $78 points here, if my original count is correct, and 7 points here, so that's 85. And then 4 points, 4 or 5 points there. Well, I'll call it 4. So it's almost 90 points for white. Yes, I believe that's pretty good. So it's almost 90 points for white, did I say? So let's look at black's territory. Black has black has less than 90 points. So it looks like it's going to be difficult for black to give komi. So the game has continued with white playing the hanetsugi here. But after coming this far, quite often in a fighting game like this, when you just have a few endgame moves to play, it's quite common for the players to finish the game like this, even if it's clear who's going to win. Now, if black answers like this, it's the normal way. Otherwise, black can cut white off with this move. I think the idea for white is that it's okay that if white can push through here, then white's not losing anything. In fact, it looks a bit dangerous for black to try to keep this territory here. So that would be bad for black. So we've come this far. And it looks fairly clear that white is going to win. So the white pair is Ichiriki Ryo and Fujisawa Rina. And it looks like they're going to be third in this tournament. So white played once here. Black has to be careful with this. If black covers, then it's going to be another big ko here, which is looking very dangerous for black. No profit, really. So black probably has to back off here a little bit. And it's just these endgame plays in the center here, and a few points, very small points left. So the game is pretty much over at this point. This move being a difference of 4 points is pretty big. Black has not answered here, but it's probably good for black to answer once locally. It's probably better than not. It's probably good for black just to continue answering here. If black leaves it at this point, white can push through and push through. And black has a weakness here with the cut. So black has to answer once more. So then there's a few forcing moves, which will gain points for white. Moves like this too. And then there's a 1 point move in this vicinity, and some slightly larger moves in this vicinity. And that will just finish the game. So white pushes through here. This makes a difference compared to if black plays here, that would be an extra eye for the black group. When white plays here, that means that black will have to deal with the threat of white playing here. So there's, it's going to force black to put a stone inside. So it's just a few forcing moves, and then some very 1 or 2 point endgame moves, and we'll be finished with this game. This threatens the snapback here. Oh, threatening again. And it looks like white chose this point, black chose this point to not to connect and to resign. So that's the end of this game. I think that the trade where white invaded black's side here, and black sort of ignored territory and tried to kill white, black did manage to kill this group to get something like 30 points profit, but in the process, white took all these stones in the center, and that was good enough for white. So, and white was picking up profit before that also. So black's attacking style didn't really pay off when white was getting all the profit as that happened. Black finally managed to kill these stones, but that was the only profit that black got out of it, while white was steadily gaining every time they made a trade. So that's how this game ended, with the resignation. I think black was pretty far behind at this point, so black resigned. So thank you. I'll be back this afternoon, Japanese time. In a few hours, it'll be 2:30, I believe, when the game starts. And for the championship match between the winners, which is Park and Choi from Korea, and their opponents will be KJ and Yu from China. So I hope you'll be back here to see that match. Thank you.